boring sleeping history. The Eagle's 1,000 Years, a saga of the Byzantine Empire. The story of the Byzantine Empire begins with the crisis of the old Roman Empire. By the end of the 3rd century AD, the vast Roman state, which had stretched from the moors of Scotland to the sands of Mesopotamia, was groaning under its own weight. It was too large to be governed effectively by a single man in a single capital. A century of civil wars, plagues, barbarian incursions and economic collapse had left the empire scarred and fragile. It was the Emperor Diocletian who, in a radical move, divided the empire into a tetrarchy, a rule of 4 with 2 senior emperors, Augusti, and 2 junior emperors, Caesars, sharing administrative duties over the eastern and western halves. This was a pragmatic recognition of a fundamental truth: the 2 halves of the empire were drifting apart. The west was largely Latin-speaking, agrarian, and facing the most intense barbarian pressure. The east was Greek-speaking, urbanized, and possessed the empire's oldest cities and wealthiest provinces. It was into this world of division and strife that Constantine was born. The son of a Caesar, Constantius, Constantine fought his way to supreme power in a series of brutal civil wars, much like the emperors before him. But Constantine was different. He was a visionary, a man who understood that the empire needed not just a new structure, but a new heart and a new soul. According to the historian Eusebius, on the eve of the decisive Battle of the Milvian Bridge in 312 AD, Constantine had a vision. He saw a cross of light in the heavens superimposed over the sun, and with it the words, "En Nikar." In this sign, conquer. He ordered his soldiers to paint the Christian symbol of the Chi-Rho, the first 2 letters of Christ's name in Greek, on their shields. They were victorious, and Constantine attributed his triumph to the power of the Christian God. This was a revolutionary moment. While Christians had been a growing minority for centuries, they had also been the victims of sporadic and sometimes horrific state-sponsored persecution. With the Edict of Milan in 313 AD, Constantine and his co-emperor Licinius declared a policy of religious tolerance throughout the empire, formally ending the persecutions. But Constantine went further. He became a patron of the Christian Church, showering it with wealth, granting its bishops legal authority, and building magnificent basilicas. He had seen in this disciplined, organized and fervent faith a social glue that could help unify his fractured empire. While he was only baptized on his deathbed, his reign marked the definitive turning point in the Christianization of the Roman Empire. Constantine also recognized the deep strategic and economic flaws of the old capital. Rome was a city of pagan tradition, far from the empire's wealthiest provinces and most threatened frontiers in the east. He needed a new capital, a Christian capital, a new Rome. He chose a location of unparalleled strategic genius, the ancient Greek city of Byzantium. It stood on a defensible peninsula at the crossroads of Europe and Asia, controlling the vital Bosphorus Strait, the only sea lane between the Black Sea and the Mediterranean. It was a site that could be supplied by sea and was perfectly positioned to guard the rich eastern provinces and the critical Danube frontier. In 330 AD, after a massive 6-year construction project, he formally dedicated his new city, Constantinople. We imagine this new capital in a state of perpetual magical winter. Its forums, basilicas and palaces are built from the gleaming marble of the old empire, but now their roofs and colonnades are draped in a beautiful layer of pristine snow. The Golden Horn, the city's magnificent natural harbour, is filled with ships, their masts stark against the snowy hills. The bright, warm sunlight of the Mediterranean world streams down, making the snow glitter and giving the nascent city a feeling of purity, divine favour, and a new beginning. Constantine plundered the pagan temples of the old empire for their artistic treasures to adorn his new city, bringing in statues, columns, and obelisks. He built a vast hippodrome for chariot races, a grand palace, and forums and streets on a Roman scale. Crucially, he also built great churches, including the first foundations of the Hagia Rhene, Holy Peace, and a precursor to the Hagia Sophia, Holy Wisdom. To populate his city, he offered senators and aristocrats from Rome lavish palaces and estates. He provided the populace with a free grain dole, just as in the old capital. Constantinople was, from its inception, designed to be the equal of Rome in every way. It had a senate, its own prefect, and was soon known simply as the city, I Polis in Greek, the undisputed center of the world. After Constantine's death, his sons divided the empire, and the split between east and west became more pronounced. While the Eastern Empire, centered on Constantinople and its rich provinces of Anatolia, Syria and Egypt, flourished, the Western Empire entered a period of terminal decline. A combination of internal political instability, economic collapse, and relentless waves of barbarian invasions by Goths, Vandals and Huns tore the West apart. In 410 AD, the city of Rome itself was sacked by the Visigoths under Alaric, an event that sent a profound shockwave across the entire Roman world. Finally, in 476 AD, the last Western Roman emperor, a young boy ironically named Romulus Augustulus, was deposed by the Germanic chieftain Odoacer. This date is traditionally marked as the fall of the Roman Empire, but in Constantinople, the Roman Empire had not fallen. The emperor in the east still ruled, his administration was still intact, his armies were still formidable, and his treasury was still full. While the west disintegrated into a patchwork of Germanic kingdoms, the east endured, preserving the laws, the administration, the military traditions, and the culture of Rome. Yet, it was a Roman Empire that was fundamentally changing. It was now irrevocably Christian in its identity, and increasingly Greek in its language and culture. The people who lived there did not call themselves Byzantines, that is a much later term invented by historians. They called themselves Romaioi, Romans. Their emperor was the Basileus ton Romaioi, the emperor of the Romans, the direct successor to Augustus and Constantine. They were the keepers of the flame. As the sun set on the 7 hills of old Rome, the new Rome on the Bosphorus, a city of gold and snow under a bright eastern sun, was preparing for its own golden age.